But how do you then try and measure your successes, yeah, vis-a-vis your strategy? What are the key components that you look at?
The fundamental answer to your question is in your question itself. And your question really is about how do you measure. Now, if you look at most organizations, they have some measurements and some metrics in place. So there are two things that I'm going to say here. So the first thing that is in terms of what kind of measures are they working with. So they have something which are called lagging indicators. Now, lagging indicators are things that, come into existence, or you can measure them after the event is over. For example, a balance sheet. A balance sheet you can only bring into existence after the period is over. You cannot create a balance sheet on 31st December 2014 earlier than 1st January 2015. So it's lagging the period. Now, that's like saying that you're driving an organization like a car looking at your rear view mirrors. It's just much smarter to look through the windscreen and look at the road that's coming at you, and that's by moving or shifting the focus on leading indicators. So the one is about lagging indicators and leading indicators and focusing on leading indicators. So all goals need to be set on lagging indicators, and all the monitoring needs to happen on leading indicators. That's number one. Number two is to inculcate a regime of measurements. Now, when you look at measuring and quantifying, the difference between the two is measuring, you can use any instrument, maybe a scale, a pressure gauge, weighing scale, and so on and so forth. But there are so many things which you cannot measure by scale. For example, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and so on and so forth. So there you quantify that on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 to 100, or whatever the case is. And as you start quantifying everything, you suddenly now moved into a realm of measurements. And when you start putting those measurements into play in your strategy, where we are today in terms of measuring all the elements, where we want to go, what are the figures going to look like, how will we get there, what's the progression, then you have a whole series of measurements that you can track your performance on. And that's a question of inculcating that discipline in the organization.